Janet Street Porter. I can see why no mates Mrs. May feels kinship with the bloody-minded loner Geoffrey Boycott, but how could a woman Prime Minister ignore the fact that he's a convicted wife-batterer to boot? By Janet Street Porter for Mail Online, published 4:39 British Summer Time, the 12th of September 2019, updated 7:17 British Summer Time, the 12th of September 2019. Revenge takes many forms. By handing her hero, the convicted woman basher and cricketing legend Geoffrey Boycott, a knighthood, Theresa May has managed to alienate even more people in the UK than she did over her bungled Brexit negotiations. The woman who introduced a domestic violence bill into the House of Commons, currently in limbo because Parliament has been suspended, has used her resignation on his list to settle scores on all sides, dishing out 57 gongs, mostly to advisers who were merely doing the jobs, some would say extremely poorly, but none is more audacious and outrageous than the ennobling of Mr. Boycott, a divisive figure even within the game which has ruled his entire life. May's name now stands for bloody single-mindedness, an inability to listen to expert advice, a blind refusal to compromise, and, the final icing on the cake, an astonishing lack of empathy. Who does that remind you of? Step forward. Geoffrey Boycott, the former England cricketing star, the captain who was never a team player, always proudly asserting his divine right to do things his way and listen to no one else. Exactly like Mrs. May. By handing her hero, the convicted woman basher and cricketing legend Geoffrey Boycott, right, a knighthood, Theresa May, left, has managed to alienate even more people in the UK than she did over her bungled Brexit negotiations. A man who is regarded as a god amongst white males of a certain age and disposition, men for whom women are attractive appendages who they're very willing to assist opening car doors, tell what wine to have with dinner, and then bonk and leave first thing in the morning. Yes, Neanderthal man still lives on, especially in the north of England. Go into many rural pubs there and blokes still patronizingly call women love and expect you to get dressed up to stand in a drafty bar and sip a ladylike drink while they pontificate at full volume about their car, traffic jams and the cricket and rugby scores.
In the age of
Geoffrey Boycott wasn't just accused of bashing his former lover 25 years ago. 2 French courts found him guilty, imposed a 3-month suspended prison sentence and a £5,000 fine. The fact that in his head a different set of events took place doesn't really matter. Many men accused of violent crimes don't believe they really were responsible, that someone else pulled the trigger or drew the knife. This kind of delusion is all too common. Boycott insists his former girlfriend was trying to blackmail him, defaming her as he protests his innocence. He has paid his dues, but the punishment was risible, and hardly sent a warning to other men who beat their partners. In France, domestic abuse has never been taken seriously by police or the courts. The government only recently decided to instigate a change of attitude after over 100 victims of femicide, murder by a partner or family member, were logged so far this year, including a 92-year-old woman who was caned to death by her 94-year-old husband earlier this month. Geoffrey Boycott, pictured with his wife Rachel in June. She was not involved in the assault in France, wasn't just accused of bashing his former lover 25 years ago. 2 French courts found him guilty, imposed a 3-month suspended prison sentence and a £5,000 fine. President Macron has allocated £4.5 million to fund 1,000 more places in shelters for abuse victims, relaunched a national hotline, which subsequently received 5 times as many calls, and instigated a check on 400 police stations to monitor how they are dealing with allegations. Perpetrators are to be tagged and children no longer allowed to visit abusive parents. It has taken France a long time to recognize the domestic abuse scandal it has ignored for decades. But Geoffrey Boycott continues to believe that the courts who convicted him were wrong. He says he did not hit his former lover 20 times in the face, and that they simply had a drunken disagreement and both fell onto a marble floor. Whatever really happened that night at the Hotel du Cap in Antibes in October 1996, Mr. Boycott clearly feels the wronged party. The BBC has decided his reputation as a cricketer means his past can be airbrushed into respectability, and he's been welcomed into the team of highly paid sports commentators. They may argue he has paid his fine, so let's move on, but how do they justify his racist comments? Boycott was furious he was only awarded an MBE after playing 100 test matches and scoring 8,000 runs, and said, "I'm going to get my award and tie it around my cat." After West Indian players received honours in 2017, he said gongs were being dished out like confetti, and added, "I'd better black my face." Hardly petty jealousy, more like pig-headed racism. Theresa May has said she admires Geoffrey Boycott because he stuck to it and he got runs in the end. The woman who came to be known as the Maybot certainly stuck to the same song sheet, endlessly repeating her mantra about strong and stable, ending with "people want us to get on with it, that's the problem in a nutshell." Sadly for Theresa, Brexit was never like a cricket match. She didn't have to stand at the stumps accepting the punishment week in and week out. She was asked to bat for Britain, but she stuck with the wrong role model and ended up disgruntled, miserable, a loser. Both she and Geoffrey Boycott has represent everything about Britain that we should be trying to forget. Going it alone. A brutal lack of tact. 0 social skills to build partnerships. Mrs. May, your legacy is now truly toxic. Let's block ads. Why?